This year was a weird one. To say the absolute least, this year was infinitely stranger than most. It's crazy to have lived through 2020 knowing that this is a year that will be burned into the history books. Social change, hundreds of thousands of lives lost, the limits of our mental states pushed to the rim. Although, I know through all of the hardship, I was one of the lucky ones. None of my family became ill, none of my close friends. On the surface, when I look back at myself, I'm unscathed, not a scratch on me. An old friend that hasn't seen me in 9 months or so would think maybe I'm the same. But as I'm writing this, I know this statement to be so far from the truth. No one knew what a year indoors, blocked from regular exposure to society would bring. No one had a clue. Those in charge were just doing their best with what they knew and what they had. And hey, a vaccine is being distributed to those in need as we speak. I hope that the people that need it most get it first, but that doesn't really seem like that's been a theme of 2020 or really ever, so we'll see. I remember at the start of 2020, I was on the highest cloud I'd been on in a while. I was in a happy relationship, my family and close friends were happy, I was following my goals, and learning new and intriguing ways of navigating the world. I at the very least felt like I had a plan. But when that fateful day in March hit, everything began to change. I locked myself away in my single apartment and gave my best effort at continuing my online education at Oregon State University. To say the very least, I despise online learning. For I'm one that thrives on in-person communication, online learning is nothing short of torture. However, I am very grateful to have had the opportunity to obtain an education. Many do not get this opportunity. Quarantine Part 1 was fun. My two best friends, Shane and Oz, would come over every evening to play poker and drink beer. This became a regular activity for the 3 months before summer. I became very aware and blessed to have such great friends in my life that always wanted to spend time with me. To have friends that could pull me from a state of stagnant thinking or depression with such ease. They were, for the most part, the only people I saw for those 3 months, and I'm not sure what I would have done without them. Whether we were wrapping fruit in rubber bands or going on long walks around campus, there was never a dull moment. None of us had any desire to spend any more time with our own thoughts than we already were. During those first 3 months, all that I could think about was how lucky I was. I would think about the people in New York, completely locked away, interacting with no one. I thought about the people with no one. Sometimes, I believe myself to be a deeply empathetic person. I strive to understand other individuals in ways they maybe never have experienced before. I believe everyone in this life deserves to be completely understood by at least a single soul. Now, I know that this is not my job, and it is impossible for just a single being to accomplish this goal, but at the least, I'd like to help others learn. I'd like to help others learn to understand one another. The average person in the US has no one they can rely on. A big fat zero. In my life, I want to change this number, or at the least, raise it to at least 1. When you have people close to you that love you, tell them how much you appreciate them. Tell them how important they are to you. Show them that you appreciate them. Show them how important they are to you. Show them you love them. In 2020, I lost track of time. Suddenly the storm hit, and now all of a sudden it's over. And the one thing that I regret is that I wish I could have done more for the people that I love. In 2019, I had a similar revelation about the importance of gratitude in our lives and why it is so important to show the people and things you are grateful for gratitude. At the end of 2020, I realized how hollow of a promise I had made, how time will only continue to pass and you won't change those around you and help the world at all unless you take physical steps and bring that gratitude into the real world. You must speak those words. You must show your love for others. You must do this yourself. Too many feelings are being left in the dark, and this is why so many are misunderstood. This is why so many fail to have anyone there for them. The year of 2020 taught me that separating yourself from the people you love will always be difficult, because you will begin to feel like there was always more to say or do before locking that door behind and not letting anyone in. At the core of our being, at the core of our hearts, we desire to be understood and loved. But we constantly forget that this is the struggle of many. So therefore, we must first seek to understand and then to be understood. We must remember that this life experience is not a competition, but a collaboration. We must remember the value of love and others in our lives. I wasn't by any means a star example this year. I'm not going to lie to you because I have no reason to. Later in the pandemic, during the summer, I interacted with a few more people, mostly for the purposes of keeping my mental health in check. And I'm certain that I'm not the only one. This year tested the limits of many. It tested countless relationships and friendships, rules and regulations, and I believe dug into what is truly important to us as human beings. I don't have high hopes for 2021. With how difficult the year of 2020 was, it almost seems foolish to invest anything in a distinguished unit of time. But at the end of this distinguished unit of time, I do have higher hopes for myself. I do believe that the world will become what I make of it when I treat others and myself with respect. I do believe the world becomes a much more enjoyable place when we actively show our gratitude to the connections that we cherish most. Thanks for listening. Finley King, signing off.
Iceland right now or something, you know? Like, look at this. This is just ridiculous. So pretty. Gorgeous.